Invictus is a poem about unfortunate circumstance and chance, and how you can overcome all of these troubles as you are the master of your own destiny and responsible for your own future. This is a poem about overcoming hardships and perseverance, even in the face of suffering. It is also a poem about free will and destiny, and how we are in control of our soul or emotions, even when facing something that is of no fault of our own.
Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
The night is very dark, so the poet thanks the gods for his preservance. Past circumstances and chance weighs down on the poet. The poet looks towards the future and he is not afraid. The poet does not care how though the future may be, as he is in control of his fate.
Metaphor is the most prevalent figure of device in the entire poem, as the poem is largely one giant metaphor for a circumstance. An example of a metaphor in the poem is line 7, "In fell the clutch of circumstance." This is a metaphor, as circumstance is not a living thing and cannot clutch something. Instead, it is a metaphor for the unfortunate circumstances and scenarios you are in and how hard it can be to get out of it. Another example is in line 5, "Under the bludgeoning of chance," which is a metaphor as chance cannot bludgeon something. Instead, it is a metaphor for being overwhelmed by the situations that happen to you by chance. Simile is also used in the poem, in line 2, where it says "black as the pit from pole to pole," which is a direct comparison using as between the darkness of the pit and the color black.
An idiom is a commonly known phrase that has a meaning that is not obvious from the individual words. Like on line 15, "I am the master of my fate," is an idiom, as is commonly known phrase that means you are in charge of your own future and destiny. As well as line 16, "I am the captain of my soul," is also an idiom, as "I am the captain" is a commonly known phrase that means you are in charge of something, like a ship or your life.
Throughout the poem, there is a consistent rhyme scheme of A, B, every stanza. This means that in each stanza, lines 1 and 3 rhyme, and lines 2 and 4 rhyme. An example of this rhyme scheme is in stanza 1, lines 1 and 3, which rhyme me and be, and in lines 2 and 4, which rhyme pole and soul. Alliteration is used in the poem as well. In line 8, "bloody but unbowed," the sound B is used multiple times in a row.
The title of the poem, Invictus, is a good representation of the meaning of the entire poem, as it is mainly about circumstance, chance, and the future, and never losing hope or giving up. The poem mentions fate and destiny, and how you are the master of your fate and are you in control of your future, and all you do is your responsibility. The poem is also about resilience. Think back to all the unfortunate situations in your life, to all the bad things that happened to you that were outside of your control, and how you could never overcome them. This is what the poem is about: overcoming circumstance and chance, and looking towards the future, and knowing you can overcome anything in your way. As the poem says, "I am the master of my fate."
On top of being about circumstance, the poem is also about our individual response to the unfortunate circumstances that may befall us. The poet mentions the soul multiple times, saying how it is unconquerable and how he is the captain of his soul. I believe he is saying that even if something bad happens to you, even if it is outside of your control, you still have control over how you react to the situation. The poet says it matters not how straight the gate, which is him saying that it doesn't matter how much the problem may weigh you down, your fate is in your own hands.
Biography. Invictus was written by William Ernest Henley. William was born in Gloucester, England. He attended the School of Crypt Grammar, and his father was a bookseller that was struggling to make money at the time. At the age of 12, William was diagnosed with tubercular arthritis, which is an infection of the joints due to tuberculosis. A month after he was diagnosed, he had to get his lower half of his left leg amputated. When the surgery was completed, he had to spend around 8 months in the hospital. During his stay, he started writing his few poems, mainly Invictus. William Ernest Henley, as mentioned in the last slide by Jonathan, had to have part of his leg amputated at a young age, due to the circumstance outside of his control. His experience of hardship is what the poem is about, and how dark his life felt when it happened, and how he overcame it. The poem is about him looking forward and knowing he can overcome any challenges that may be in his way. As we mentioned, the poem is also about our individual emotional response to these unfortunate circumstances, which is relevant to William, as if he just gave up after his leg was amputated, things would not have gone the way they did.
The poem Invictus was written in 1875 and was inspired by William Ernest Henley's stay at the hospital due to his amputation. Fun fact, Nelson Mandela, former president of South Africa, recited this poem for many years during his imprisonment because it gave him hope for the future and inspired him and other prisoners, giving them hope and helping them get through tough times.
While in London, Henley was informed that his right foot was also diseased and needed to be amputated as well. The young man consented the diagnosis with Joseph Lister, a pioneering surgeon at the Royal Infirmary of Edinburgh. Henley spent 3 years in the hospital from 1873 to 1876. Although not completely cured, Henley enjoyed an active life for almost 30 years afterwards. During his 3-year stay at the hospital, Henley wrote and published poems, which were collected in a book in the hospital. Henley married Hannah Johnson Boyle on the 22nd of January, 1878. The couple had a daughter named Margaret. Unfortunately, Margaret Henley was a sickly child and was able to speak clearly. Henley sadly died at the age of 53. The cause of his death was tuberculosis. In the 2009 feature film Invictus, the poem written by Henley was referenced several times throughout the movie. Website information. The end. Thank you for watching.